Hey YouTube, it's Petey Two Finger. I'm working on this project and taking time to bring you a video. So I hope you enjoy it. Putting together a bass preamp. It's going to have a buffer, an auto wah, a compressor, an overdrive .250, and a parametric EQ. The Yamaha NE1. I think it's called a bass preamp. To me, it seems more like just a parametric EQ. Now, I don't know what to call it. I think we're going to call it the BP9000. It's kind of a joke name. Do I call it a multi-effect and then have people attack me and say do I call it a preamp? Well, preamps don't have auto wah and distortion built in on them, so it puts me in a weird place when I make a video and I've got to dance around because of trolls who never built a single thing in their life. So what I did, the first step of this process, was to build this stack of circuitry that's basically the guts of the thing. We'll put that over there. Then I drew a rough layout, which this is merely to give me an idea of what we're dealing with. So real quickly I realized, well, gee, that's kind of a lot. And I made the decision to move the power switch in the back of the unit. So what we're left with is a bypass switch for the auto wah, a single sensitivity control for the auto wah, which is a Electro-Harmonix bass balls circuit. The corpulent cojones. This was actually put together. I didn't build it. A guy named Jimmy Photon built it and gifted it to me. Thank you very much to Jimmy Photon. Wonderful guy. You should go subscribe to his channel immediately. His stupid pedal tricks, and he's a guitar pedal master and a really talented, excellent guitar player. He's a lifer. He's a rock and roll lifer. I got a real lot in common with Pink Jimmy Photon. We became friends pretty much instantly when we met. And I really respect him. So special super thanks to Pinkster, Jimmy Photon, my buddy, gave me this auto wah. Never really used it. And now we took the circuit and it's going to live in this like cable box enclosure, which really wasn't that big. Like I said, I put the power switch, the master power switch, around back. And there's 3 controls for the flatline compressor, bypass switch for the auto wah, bypass switch for the .250 volume and gain. This is it's called a curve, an EQ curve switch for the frequency for the NE1 EQ or preamp, whatever you call it. We were going to use a larger knob for that one and call that the master volume because the signal path goes this way. And there's a buffer that's not pictured. So it comes in, there's a buffer, auto wah, then the compressor, then the NE1. Now this switch changes the EQ curve. I was initially going to hide it up top to give me more room going this way. And then I realized we have just about basically enough. So that's the first step, is drawing it out. Oftentimes in this process I will use stuff like one of these, whatever that's called. And I use rulers, I use Sharpies, I use pencils. We're going to step in the other room. So camera person, cover the lens and let's take a walk. I'm covering the lens just so there isn't movement on the camera so much. So here we are. God, I know that was way too loud. This is the back panel. Do we have the top for this unit? Why don't you let me hold this? Go get the top. So yeah, here's the back panel. It's a cable TV box. So you see I've got a couple of jacks in there, dry fitting the stuff. I wedged some cardboard to cover the holes, which I'm probably going to use automotive epoxy or JB Weld to patch that a little better. Here's a ground connection I put in a little. And then you can see I've been... there were already some weird square cutouts and look on the love seat. And you can see I installed the LED. Those two pots are for the NE1 preamp. And then, say that fast, huh? NE1 preamp. And then it's actually, I think it's just a parametric EQ. So then, yeah, this, let's see, where is the, here it is. This guy here is the bypass switch. Actually, it's supposed to represent the bypass switch. So what I did, I kind of like, there was a additional hole here, that so I used this larger washer to cover that. And then a smaller hole, which I drilled out. We're using a large knob for that, master volume knob, and then a smaller knob. And then pretty much the rest of the process, I mean, like, I dry fitted this and then put a pencil hash mark where I thought the pot would fit comfortably next to it, not too close. As you can see, it's pretty close. So excuse the quality, the shakiness of this video. So basically at that point, I have, you know, where's my paper? My paper's gone. So I have, this is established and this is established. So then I put a piece of masking tape in here and I'm just going through the process of dry fitting. Yeah, so to show you, this is what I need to put in here. So I got this done, so I put a line. I got these two done, so I put a line at 2. And then figure, okay, well, I need another switch. I need 2 pots, another switch, and 3 pots. So it's 5 pots and 2 switches. And there you see, 1, 2, 3 pot, 1, 2, so 5 pots, and then 1, 2 switches. So just dry fitting these in here, and then sketching them out with a pencil is how I'm doing this. Not very scientific, and probably what I will do, like we'll drill, next up is the pilot hole for this switch. And then we use what's called a stepped drill bit, which are wonderful. They're really kind of inexpensive too, these guys. And I'll tell you, one thing that helps is having a little oil. To me, I find it doesn't matter even if it's vegetable oil. It'll smell. Vegetable oil has a smell to it, but when you're drilling through sheet metal or any kind of metal, I like to use a lot of oil. Not necessarily a lot, but oil helps to keep the friction down. It makes your drill bits last longer, makes the chore of drilling. I've gotten to the point where I don't snap a lot of drill bits. I used to break drill bits all the time when I was drilling in metal. But back to the topic in order, I will cut in this one. I will use this hammer, and I have a center punch here, kind of a pointy little guy, center punch. And pretty much I'll be using this credit card and then making a pencil line, and then we'll set this sucker up. Like I'll remove these, and honey, would you grab that one? I want to show them how we go ahead and grab the camera. So what we do is we'll put this board up here. I'll remove the pot, and then I'll set this. See, the pots are getting in the way. We'll set it on here. Take this guy. Well, it'll actually be over here, and then we'll hit it a couple times pretty hard, and that'll put an indentation in there. And the idea with that indentation is then my drill bit doesn't. A lot of times, if you don't do that, you go, I'm going to drill a hole here, and you start drilling, and your drill will go ring. It'll just take a walk. So that's the idea with using a center punch and a little bit of oil, and then whoop, put that hole in there, and then we switch up to, of course it's missing. Here it is. And I apply oil to this too. Now the important thing with these is keep them clean. They get munged up usually in here, and then over on this side there'll be little pieces of steel that adhere themselves, depending on what the job is. But you keep them clean. This one I've had, oh gee, when do you think we bought this? 2006, 2004, and it's about cashed. Just recently I noticed I kind of need a new one. But yeah, we'll drill. Pre-drill is like 1/8 of an inch bit. That's what I'm using to cut through the steel. Let's see what it is. We got brand new bits today. They're 7/64ths is what they are. And those are whatever was cheap at Harbor Freight. And then we try to go just enough, depending on what we're drilling. I try to not really go over, although going over and making it a little bigger gives you wiggle room to adjust it. But you don't want to go too far, too big. And then after I get it drilled out, typically there's a bunch of mung, and you need to pull those bits of sheet metal off. If it's on the inside, I'll go ahead and take the file to it and clean it up nice. I don't like the idea of running my hand across something because that's just natural for me to do that. And then cutting off more of these. Yeah, we don't want to do that. So clean them up and then mount the whatever it is, a switch or a pot, and then actually put the knob on. You want to really, before you move on to the next one, you want to kind of make it look what it's going to look like. So hopefully we'll be able to cut this in. Like I said, to do it. My thinking is I would do this one, then I would do this one, then I would go do this one, then I would do this one, and so on and so forth. And that way we're not going to end up like maybe if I were to do it here and spread them out too much initially, and then they would be all tight, or there wouldn't be room for this last pot. So doing it every other one, I think I have a better chance of. And when this is finished, there is going to be probably differences in the gaps in between. What I don't want is up and down variance. Just difference left and right. Like these holes were drilled because of pre-existing holes in the unit. So there's really nothing that's beyond my control. And I can proudly say, see that gap? That wasn't me. And here's a tip for you. These particular knobs have a set screw in them, and the dollar store little jeweler's screwdrivers are great for fitting into this tiny hole and adjusting the set screw. I tend to like these old-fashioned screwdrivers, and I will see these from time to time at resale. And then what I've done is used a grinder to grind the sides and then just clean them up a little bit. Usually the tip is torn up, so I'll give them a hole once around. I'll really grind them, regrind the tips at an angle and then flat. Just round the sides a little bit, round these sides. Just really try to do a great job with it. And then that way it's not catching and grabbing when I go to. So these are great. Normally they won't fit. Like I said, I made 2 of these this morning, and they were much more spade shaped like that, and they wouldn't fit in these knobs. So yeah, that's what we're doing at this point. Where's my favorite? Everyone has a favorite tool, and that's the one that you can never find. So what we're doing at this point is we're gonna remove these pots to get set up for our next hammer time. Can't touch this. And me by doing this, hey, did you guys hear that Fred Willard died? R.I.P. Fred Willard. When you hear me, oftentimes I'll go into this thing where I kind of don't know what I'm talking about, and using this voice that's I kind of borrowed from Fred Willard. That's me doing a bad Fred Willard, which he was a funny guy. Fred Willard was incredible talent. So yeah, like I was saying, this one here initially was small like that. And then we have these goofy squares. So not the ideal box to start with, but this is what I got. This is what someone gifted me this. They knew that I was into electronics, and I was asking people, hey, if you got any old VCRs or old junk electronics, I'll take them. And this was one of the things that we got. So, pretty cool project, isn't it? What do you think? Leave comments below. I know it's funny. Ha 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 ha. Petey makes his stuff out of cardboard. Ha ha ha. This is epoxied down, and I'm using this as an insulation. So my plan is to take the individual circuits, cut out a piece of cardboard that's just a little bit bigger than the circuit, and I will press it on there and then put 4 hot glue or whatever, little kind of piles of hot glue, which will hold the Vero onto that individual pieces of cardboard. And then those pieces, when I get them in here, I'll just put some hobby glue in there, and they'll be glued down. And that's how I'm going to mount them. Everything is on this project uses shielded wiring. All entire audio path is shielded, and it starts with a JFET buffer. And then, as you can see, I'm going to do it's going to be chassis ground, and we're going to have a strip of Vero for the powering, where I'm going to run the power switch back here is going to throw 12 volts out of a lithium-ion battery pack into this strip, which each effect will come out with a power wire that will tie into that strip. So that's the plan. Why don't you point the camera at me? We'll be back soon as we make more progress on this. This is day 3, right? The amount of stuff that I've done in the meantime, rather than just work on this, is mind-numbing. I completely tore down, cleaned, and repaired not 1 but 2 vacuum cleaners. Did a lot of like tidying and fixing of stuff, and like cleaning garbage cans, cleaning old teeth brush. Look at this toothbrush that I cleaned. It was out by the dumpster. It was filthy. And this will be something I'm going to, of course, clean the old choppers with. So anyway, we'll see you guys soon with more on the multi-effector. Hopefully this is going to be done soon, because I'm racked with pain. I'm absolutely miserable. I'm crabby, and I need a nap. All right, you guys. I'll see you soon, and peace.